Woo! Let's get into it. Just your favorite non-belligerent, non-combatant man, usually in black, but today we're in white because it's right all night. Mr. Badwolf himself and your most gracious host, he who has been born in the natural, born as a national, the Bad Wolf. Let's get into it, guys. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you guys for watching these instructional, educational, entertainment purposes only. Pieces of the paradigm shift itself. Literally, each one of you guys who are watching this, except for the bad people out there, are a part of the change. We're waking up, we're learning. And truth be told, a lot of them don't like you guys learning this. Why? Because then the game is over. The game will have to change. The game can't sit back and be the dirty, perverted Uncle Lester the molester sitting, in his chair while grabbing your mom's booty and a hand down your pants. Can't do that no more. Getting fat and rich, you stupid son of a b. Let's get into it. All right. So this particular video is about sovereign citizen myths. So as I was looking up things today, I seen this lawyer, this liar, on YouTube, and they were talking about here, hold on, I wrote one piece of it down. Oh, his video was titled something along the lines of Sovereign Citizen Myths. I understand I don't understand you and not admitting to understanding and won't help you in court. Okay. So there's some truth there and there's some lies. So let's start there. And I don't know how long this video will be. I'm just going to kind of speak as things come to mind. So let's just jump in right there. Well, no, let's come back to it. Let's come back to it. Let's start at the sovereign citizen thing itself. And I've mentioned this numerous times, but let's do a quick recap, then jump into the meat and the taters. You know what I mean? All right. So recap. There is no such person, legal, or entity, etc., called the sovereign citizen. If you look through the Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, etc., 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 what they talk about is the citizen being sovereign. Those words together have never been codified or codified. They've never been enumerated. There's no number. It's not a real thing. It's a slang term like the N word. Nyaga. There's no such thing. It's not real. But if you trace actually N word back, it actually comes from the word necro, negro meaning black, necro meaning death, naga, which mean kings and priests or snake priests, if you really want to know. Okay. Um, Also where we get negative to be less than in a way or not on the positive scale just for balance purposes means the opposite. It's not an evil thing by any means, but how the word today used here, yes. And now that everybody's using that word, it really seems like it's played out. Like I don't even like to, I mean, I rarely have ever used it my damn self, but like I got old white guys using it, calling themselves that, Asian dudes and all kind of whatevers, and this is and white girls using it. It's played out now. It's played out. It's dead. All right. So stop. Just leave it alone now. Let it die. Let it die. Let the past die. Skywalker. All right. Now, so what they were referring to when they mentioned the citizen being sovereign or sovereignty relying with the citizen, and you can look this up in the Immunities Act, it's there. Okay, so what they're talking about is the state citizen. So how come a lot of times they didn't just say that? Well, in some of the old terminologies, like in one of the previous videos, it's still actually a word on Cornell Law EDU. You can look it up. I made a video on it so that in case they decide to obfuscate the word, it's on my video and my backup videos and my backup sites. So the state citizen means any person living, any living individual born within the republic anywhere within what's known as the geographical United States of America. You had that first. Then by law, when law enacted the 14th Amendment, came along the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, the federalized citizen, the U.S. citizen, all wrapped up. Okay, there's layers to it, but that's a whole class. So we get both. We get the living side, which is private, and the public side, which is public, or the public side, which is the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. So public, private side, state citizen, also known as a national or a non-resident or foreign national. That's the state citizen. And it especially includes, say, if you live in California, referring to yourself as a Californian. Okay. So within the private side, you've got the state citizen, which is a Californian. You also have a national, which is somewhat the same thing on the private side. But when you say you're a national, you're saying, I'm natural and I belong with all of the other state citizens, the Californians, the New Yorkers, the Wisconsinites, the Floridians, whatever else. That's the private side. The reason why a lot of them don't acknowledge that is because they only deal in public matters, public controversies. So if you're private, how can you be pulled into the public? Well, if you have a controversy that's outside of your house or you call the authorities, you're turning your private matter into a public controversy. Now they can get into it and regulate it because by law, under 8 USC 1401, national and citizen at birth, you have both sides. You can elect to have the public interfere in your private affairs. But your FBI, and hello, gentlemen, I love that you guys watch my videos. CIA, heard you guys been watching too. That's awesome. Welcome to class. Cornell Law, you guys always have a seat right next to me all the time, and I appreciate it. To the lawyers and the attorneys and the judges and the police, good ones are welcome. The other ones, well, you guys sit back farther, a little bit more right there. I can barely just see you, not see you. 1 second. Okay, and we're good. All right. So under that code and law, we have both sides, but they can only deal with the public. That's why you see everything that they have says public administration. They can't regulate you in the private as long as you're acting. I shouldn't say acting or operating. As long as you are in the private as a private citizen, a national, state citizen, a non-resident, non-resident alien, using your vehicle with your automobile as a non-resident registration or foreign vehicle registration. Those are outside of their jurisdiction. They can literally get sued on the public side and private side for that. And they can kind of squabble around. I didn't know. I didn't, wasn't knowingly. Well, then guess what? Then that alleviates them of some of it, but not all of it. And then it makes it even worse for the police station because they have a duty to educate their officers on this material. And see, I know I'm right because the Department of State, good evening, Department of State. I know you guys watch my videos too. And thank you for the corrections you guys have made accordingly. So, any place that denies you of your right as a national, Mr. Police Officer, Mr. Judge, Mr. Lawyer, Mr. Magistrate, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Whatever, whoever, under 8 USC 1503, denial of rights and privileges as a national. That wouldn't be a law that you, and I know you guys don't know about that, except for the ones watching me right now, because that's how we've now learned to sue you guys and win. We got the code right now. We're good. We're coming for our rights, coming to America, and coming to a courtroom near you. Probably a federal district court, because we know the states are usually on your side. Oh, you're building a better wolf. It's not even just me. It's out there now. 20 years ago, probably should have just paid me off. Wouldn't be here, but you didn't. Apparently, you wanted to see where I was going to go. Right here, right now. That being said, the national is a real thing. GPO style manual section 5.23. The government recognizes it. Does it have to be in a enumerated code? No, that's for the states. The government recognizes it. We don't need to be codified. It's already in their books. It's on the books. You understand what that means, right? Like, was the Constitution codified? Is it under a no? It's the Constitution. It's superior law of the land, and they're talking about us as Americans in there. See, when you operate as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, you're in the American family, but you're waiving everything basically American, but your right to be here. And then you're changing your status from your standing as an American to your status of a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. It's how it works. And for those not in the know, when they talk about, oh, well, no, you're talking about Guam and Samoa or whatever. Yeah, that's under 1408. That's a subclass of national. We are 1401, the primary class of national. There's two. And you really should just read the freaking Foreign Affairs Manual to understand that, or 8 USC 1401 versus 8 USC 1408. Are you with me? Good. Let's continue. So, with that being said, let's get into the heart of the video. So, now that we know through code, law, observation, reading, for those of us who read, there's two different things. Once again, 8 USC 1401, national and citizen at birth. We get both. Every lawyer, every police officer, every judge, every attorney, every postal worker, every police officer, every sheriff, every marshal, every FBI agent, every one of you guys watching, them included, my video right now, like Spaceballs, whatever's happening now, it's happening now. We're in the present. Everybody has it. But when they're in public capacity working, they really can't directly, especially at work, acknowledge the private side. It's like speaking an angelic language when you're a devil. Can't do it. The coal of truth shall be placed upon your evil mortal tongue for those who lie. Know thyself. Tempus fugit. Novus orda seclorum. If you know, you know. And you acceptus. All right. So, with that being said, you as a national, state citizen, etc., when interacting with them, they generally, unless you know how to move properly, are only and always going to see you as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen under the applied license, which means that they get to believe you are who they say you are. But they can't attack, well, they can try to attack you, but they can't prosecute you as a sovereign citizen because there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. That would have to be codified in their books. And then they would have to basically be saying that they own, that they're making that a real thing and that they own you. And they don't have that power. They would have to legislate and push for it. But then they have to admit what that is. And they would have to define it. And then what are they going to define it as? A U.S. citizen, which is already there, who's breaking the laws. So it's already there too. And trying to either be a national, which is what you already have, and exist outside of our jurisdiction, but they're doing something criminal or whatever, which why even do all that then when they can just prosecute you as a U.S. citizen? And that's what they do. Who's broken their laws, their codes. Then there's real law, and then there's what they're doing, which are statutes and codes and infractions. And an infraction, which is what all those things are, fractions of the real law. Unless it's like a capital, you know, crime or something of that nature, then those are different, but still yet in the same waterway. Gem drops. For at one day a king's treasure loses its glitz, glamour, its shine, and its glory. Now, common myths. A lot of these gurus out here will tell you stuff like, oh, and hear me out, use UCC 1-308, which is a real thing. And some of them will put their own little swag on it. So, oh, if you use that, then you're not out of the system. You're still using their stuff. Some of them will tell you you have to use it. You can tell them all the time, I know my constitutional rights, this and that. You don't need to use the UCC. But if you do use it, yeah, you're playing in their water a little bit, but it's a remedy for the national, the private citizen, and for somebody inside of their own jurisdiction who does not want to contract. But can you go to court and just be like, UCC 1-308 and think the judge is going to be like, shit, shit. Oh, bro, we almost had you, man. You didn't have me. You never even had your car. No, you can't just do that. Everything I'm telling you about, these are pieces. You must know the game. You must know the terminology. You must know how to use it when and where. See, their public system is too intertwined with ours now to really almost anybody ever be 100% off the grid. And any of these so-called gurus and shamans and soothsayers and snake oil salesmen, um, any of them that tells you, I'm 100% out, no, they're not. They're still taking your fiat currency. Didn't they charge you X amount of dollars for half their crap that was crap? Aren't they still on YouTube? YouTube dot what? Dot com? Dot com is commercial. They're still in the game. Even my website, blackside32 is what? Dot com. Now, sure, I could get edu, but they own that too. I could get um, whatever else. Still part of the game because this level of communication is not natural. Anything not natural or numbered, serialized, is generally their property. It's their jurisdiction to some degree. Why do you think they can just merely pull videos down, either YouTube or the gov or the people with that kind of power from my YouTube channel when they want to? It's because YouTube is not mine. YouTube is registered to the state's registered to the government, so on and so forth. It's really quite simple. Where do you think these gurus are keeping their money after getting it from you? In a bank. Probably not even a private trust account set up properly. Or let me guess, it's overseas. Bullshit. But let's say it was. Still yet, not private. Bank account. Registered to that country, their state, to their government. And their government is most likely in cahoots with our government or the people above my pay grade who run all the stuff in the back. Above all the people. Matter of fact, if you know their name, they're not the highest one on the list. That's all I'm going to tell you. So no, that's a piece of it. Sure, UCC 1-308 reserves your rights. But what rights? I've had guys go into court, still get locked up because they try to use that, hurt somebody, and then watch my videos like UCC 1-308. I'm gonna put it right here. And then when called out about what does it actually mean, which is a reservation of your rights, and you're not waiving any of them from the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, you look quite stupid saying, well, it means without prejudice because I'm not prejudiced like this guy actually did. So you get locked up because you've deemed yourself to be drum motherfucking roll, please, incompetent. See, they require two things. Okay, if they themselves are competent, and not all of them are. But the key people, like, and this is no offense to any particular cops, My next door neighbor was one. He moved now. So he knows all about my right to travel, seeing all my plates. Didn't arrest me. He knew what it was. Wasn't because we were friends. I mean, we became friends later on. Do I have some cops on my payroll? Yes, I do. Some who know exactly who I am. Ask me for information. I've done them favors. They do some for me. I've been around the world and I. So you have to understand that, and I guess we'll jump into that word too, that not all of the low level individuals know this information. You cops, especially lawyers, they hide this information because they don't want it to interfere with your brain process in doing your revenue collecting with your motor vehicle from members of theirs in the public on the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen side in status because it makes them money. That's what this is all about. So, yeah, in one way, you're protecting America ish, but really what it is legally being said is well, some people refer to you as a road pirate collecting booty, but you're a LEO, a legal enforcement officer of the Corporation for Public 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. You do not have jurisdiction over private citizens and nationals unless they break the law or in the act of breaking it, or they've done a crime, or they're involved in some controversy. That's why they have to have, well, RAS, reasonable articulate suspicion of a crime, even when pulling over a regular citizen, because even that regular citizen has constitutional rights. But the citizen has agreed to be their member. So it's more acceptable for them to be pulled over for whatever they're doing. Somebody with a private plate, no, that's out of your jurisdiction by international law if they've done everything right. American law, constitutional, private law, common law, all of that. Hell, even your own statutes. Because in your own statutes were referred to as foreign registration or non-resident aliens or non-resident registration. Now, some other stupid things. Once again, the word understand. So a lot of these people, because they hear me or certain other people say, well, I don't understand you. I stand over your authority. And a lot of people just go, oh, I don't understand. I don't understand. So what you're really doing there is you're kind of telling them that what the myth is that by saying that you're not standing under their authority. Okay. That's kind of true, but kind of not. What it really is that when you say, I don't understand, you're essentially telling them that you're incompetent and that you need appropriate counsel and that you also are not standing underneath their authority, but you're not giving them all the information. To just say that is a broken piece that they give you, oh, well, this will work. It does not just work by that. You have to be competent enough to say, I do not stand underneath your authority. I overstand this situation and event. I'm reserving my rights under the Constitution, just so we're clear. I'm existing as a living national or a living state citizen under 8 USC 1401 or 8 USC 1101 A 22B. This is when they usually, yeah, I'm going to need back up. Yeah, get a CO out here as well. Now, if they don't, that can be a most precarious situation. And I'm not going to go into the laws that surround this because I know people will try to abuse it. So you're going to have to do your own research. But anytime a police officer operates outside of his legal jurisdiction, and that doesn't mean somebody from Florida crossing the lines. That means right here, right now, if you reserve your rights, you've done nothing criminal, you are fully empowered with the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and that gives you certain lawful right, physical right, and other. That's all I'm going to say. Should he overstep his legal position, which is called ultra vires, Okay. Judges do it all the time. Police officers do it a lot of times. They have to, for legal reasons, only deal with 14th Amendment US citizens. Those are their members, basically their property, who have engaged in the crime, denial of somebody else's rights, and the act of a crime, public controversy. Same thing goes for a national. However, because of implied license, if he believes you're operating as a 14th Amendment US citizen, he has the right to bother you a little bit, approach you a little bit, and kind of gray what you know a fully installed with their power national or state citizen can do or could be possibly done. Because you have the right to defend yourself. You have the right to know these things. But you must be completely in the right. If you're not, well, that's where they like to use the sovereign citizen word on you, which once again, that does not pertain to me or any of my, well, none of my good viewers. And it's an oxymoron. You can't be a sovereign, which means king, self-governed, and then citizen, which means property of the city. You can't be both. Why do you think when you're doing your UCC and they deny you because you put your name down as the debtor and as the creditor? Because one of them is living and one of them is dead. You can't have a living dead girl. Living dead girl. Rob Zombie for anybody that doesn't know. Um, you can't be both. Just like a police officer on duty cannot be a national. If he's at home, he's a national, whether he likes it, knows it, or not. He's a private citizen then. The moment he slaps on his badge and puts his pew pew on him, he's back into being a citizen. He's property of his municipality. Municipality is property of the board owners. Board owners are property, well, most of themselves, but they still operate under the state. State operates under the government. And the government operates under we, the people of the United States of America. Let's not forget the order. How to say? The pecking order of things. So just saying a piece of some of these words just is not going to work. Now, when you use these things properly, does that mean they're 100% going to work? No, and I'll tell you why. But overall, the answer is yes. It's no because if the person you're dealing with doesn't know or think or has some kind of typecast mindset where they don't know any of this information, they were never taught it, or they think it's all fooey, then they're going to ignore you. And in that moment, might makes right. And that can be a very dangerous thing. Somebody who knows the law versus a uniformed operator, enforcer, who is not properly trained. And that's where we have to inform those people in the FBI, the CIA, the government, the OIG, the attorney generals, the district attorneys, the attorney generals, commanding officers, chief of police, because I know you guys watch these. I know you guys do. I've already been told. Retired cops, retired service. All of you guys need to know this information. Otherwise, maybe, and maybe this is what you guys want, a coming civil war, a coming legal war, coming national war. Because this information, even if I stop doing this tomorrow, it's already out there. It's going to grow. People want their rights. And Americans, of all people in the entire world, do not like to be denied their rights. Now, if this was somewhere else in the world, I would say there's a 90% chance of failure. But now that the American people are starting to wake up, may not be today, may not be tomorrow, but if I was a board member, I would have my legal department research this information. If I was a commanding officer, if I was a chief of police, if I was their legal department, I would start putting brochures together everywhere. And if you guys need help, reach out to me. I do consultations because the system is going to change. And by I mean the system, I should say the system, that which is in place, and it will be changed by Americans. And if you're hearing this information, whether you like me or not, or this information, you are still an American. You've just been playing on the wrong team within the team. And to all people of enforcement, I hold you to your oath of office where you swear to protect these United States of America and the Constitution for the American people. I mean, you are on our side, right, gentlemen? Hmm, I believe so. So, other little sovereign citizen myths would be, that like you have a super secret trust account. We can pull all of this money out of and do whatever you want to do. It's a myth that you have all of these bonds and you can just get all this money. It's a myth. But let me explain how it's been muddied from the gurus and then the system itself. Let's cut through all of it because both sides are pining for you to be stupid. And with my current IQ of 171, we're not here for that. So let's get into it. Is there a super secret trust that you guys have? No, but there is a shared account. It's the Treasury. The Treasury is holding all of our money. It's usually generally called the general trust or whatever else, general public trust, whatever. But yeah, even the states have a huge little slush fund. Oops, secret's out now. Where they can offer certain services, whether it's free phones or free internet or free whatever. They have a fund. The government has the biggest fund. It's our money, and we use it every day with our social security numbers. When something gets discharged or charged off or whatever, that's you getting back some of the money, the credit that's in there, that's yours. And if it's called a trust, then that must mean that it's held in trust. And that being the case, then that means that there needs to be a trustee, a beneficiary, and a grantor. So, guess what? You guys have been operating primarily in most of your lives as the trustee along with them, but a low level trustee, the lowest of the levels of trustee, because they're the first, and then the ones who work for them say, we'll play it like this. Your high rolling trustees out there, your judges, your what magistrates, your whatever else. And then there's a secondary level, okay, which are your police officers and things of that nature. And then underneath would be you. But somewhere towards the top are regular trusts, regular entities that you create. So you're the lowest when operating by your right under 8 USC 1401 as either a national or a US citizen. The citizen is a trust. Citizen is a business and instrumentality of the United States corporation and its subsidiaries, which are the state ofs. You're a member of those levels, not operating as your boss or their boss, a boss. Well, if they're the trustees, we know then that they can't be the beneficiaries. Could be the grantors. Did they create all of this? Nope, we the people did. So we the people are the grantors and the beneficiaries. But by law, they allow you to operate as a trustee or one of them, but you're the lowest of the classes of trustees if you switch hats. and go from the private to the public. Go ahead. I'll just think about that for a moment. Good. Okay. So just use the trust is there. Now, are there processes where you can potentially directly access that? Well, some people would say when you give them your social security number, that's what you're doing at that point in time. I personally do not know of any fill out this piece of paperwork and suddenly you get all these cajillions and cajillions of dollars. But if there was, why would they let you just do that without checks and balances in place? Because if everybody could just pull, say, $1 million a year, you know what that's going to do to the price of everything? Now, for the slow people, and no offense to extra slow people or special needs or whatever else, I'm not making fun of you. I'm saying to the people who are just like, well, I want that money. La 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 la. It's not your money. It's all of our shared credit. And you're entitled to what the system, the trust, has deemed accessible or allowable amounts per the event. Because everybody and their mother would just buy every fucking nook and cranny car, this, that, and the other. And then what? The money's gone. Guess what happens when the money's gone? Guess what happens when the money's gone? All of our, let me say this correctly, all of our enemies will be at our doorstep. If we can't pay to protect ourselves in war and in famine and in this and in off-world even activities and entities and things of that nature and this cabal and this whatever else, they're using that money to keep you safe. Some of which most people would not like and probably would throw up in their own mouth. Other stuff was beautiful. And there's all different shades in between. They're doing all of this stuff to keep you safe. Now, I will admit some of them are clandestine operations that are doing it against us. And to what degree, I don't know. But in general trusts, I know the trustees are not supposed to harm the beneficiaries, or they would be in breach of their duty, which is to protect the trust and the beneficiaries of. Now, they can protect the trust from the beneficiaries if the beneficiaries are trying to destroy the trust. Trustees' duties are to protect the trust, but the beneficiaries also have the right to collapse the trust if the trust is no longer needed. And here's where I sadly have to uh, agree with them. We need the trust. See, once you've gone full circle, you see why the why certain what is in the movie. If you live long enough, you become the villain, or you live long enough to understand the villain. Well, in order to keep things in balance, you have to know the light and the dark. And then there's moments where those who are you would think are the light in this story, the beneficiaries, us, are the light. But in fact, our own greed can be the darkness. And whereas we look at them as the darkness for the things that they do and don't do, but maintaining our way of living is also part of the darkness because of its own greed to stay alive, the light. The Mobius effect, we'll call it. Some people call it a toroidal field, yin yang, whatever, you get it. So, are there bonds? Now, a lot of them would disagree on this part, but after what I've seen and talking to legal departments and et cetera, and other certain people in certain places of society, will just say, thank you for the tips. I appreciate you guys and information. Yes, there are bonds, but not every state makes bonds. Not all of them are in on it. But yes, When you get your documents from them, if it's on thicker bond paper, and if you go to the CUSIP website, it says that not all of them are a type of maturing bond, but they are a type of bond in fact. So not all of them have money hidden behind them. But if they're on thicker paper and you read along the edge, and usually in blue writing, it'll say this is bond paper security. This is one of the reasons why they don't want you to copy those, because it would be securities fraud. You can't copy securities. Only they are allowed. They have that legal public benefit of doing business and commerce. Any entity, government, municipality, officer of the law, etc., who does anything considered commercial is operating in commerce. And if they're operating in commerce, then they themselves do not have full power of as a government, and they will be construed and regarded as a corporation. When you know the law, you know the law. A lot of these guys don't know it. So some of these public utilities documents are in fact bonds. They're dual purpose. They're accruing credit. And before you email me, no, I do not know how to pull the money. I've already made videos giving you guys the best ways I think as education you may possibly get there. So don't bother asking me, don't email me, don't blow me up like everybody to this day, damn near still kind of, it's been dying down. So I don't want this regenerating any of that. I don't need it. All right. I don't answer tons of free questions anymore. People abuse that. Um, if you want questions answered, hit my website. There's a fee for that. If I elect to answer it, then you were so picked. But I don't owe anybody any obligation of answering anything for free. That's why I make the videos. You want to know more? Do a consultation. And if I do answer, don't expect that I have to keep answering. And if you're rude or mean, I'm generally not going to respond back. Just going to delete and block you. That's my way of things. I'm trying to be very Buddhist or kind of Tao, something in there. So these are in fact some of the myths out there. Okay, but we need to answer them correctly. And of course, the government doesn't know. Let me say this: the government as a whole doesn't know, or if they do know, then they're obfuscating it about the bonds. They like to kind of distract and say, "Oh, watch out for these gurus you talk about." Then you should watch out for it. A lot of people don't. They don't know what's going on. They think they do, but they don't do the research. When you see a lawyer or a police officer or a judge, it's one of two things. Either they know the truth and they're obfuscating it because they're in public capacity, or they're lying about it because they're in public capacity. That's it. And none of them have set up their own website and said anything more than sovereign citizen stuff. They haven't legally proven any of it to be wrong. Now, there is interpretation to everything. That's why I always try to go right down the middle. No bias, no religion, no this, no that. Just this is the information. And you guys are to do your own research. Vet even my information. Double check it. Look up the codes. I don't spend time reading all these books and doing all these processes on my floor here and, you know, getting tested and testing my IQ and getting in improving. If you haven't noticed, my IQ has gone up over the years because I keep getting retested and I keep learning more and more stuff. And I'm sorry, you don't beat police officers in court. You don't catch these people lying. You don't beat judges in their own court. You don't get out of tickets lawfully, win court cases, win money. You don't do these things if you're dumb. You don't get accidentally lucky. They don't do that. Even when some of you guys have won your court cases and you're like, well, Wolf, I don't know if it worked. even though I used all of your information, I mean, because they just told me that the judge was his itinerary was packed for the day, so I got lucky. You didn't get lucky. You have no idea how much money you being there or not being there makes them, but your name being there guarantees it for them. The reason why you don't win in court is because you don't know what you're doing and you haven't done the proper procedures for the game. You don't, most of these guys don't know how to play the game. That's why a lot of the stuff these gurus give to you guys doesn't work because it's only pieces. Now, if you go to www.jamesclovett.com, you can get the videos. I go into this in depth for education and entertainment purposes only. You don't know how to speak their language. How do you expect to win? You don't know how to stand on your rights. Fuck, you know what? They're right. You are incompetent. See, at 18, you were supposed to, after having been given up as a ward through your birth certificate to the state legally, a legal version of you was given to them. And you guys have been through joinder or forced joinder, which is a federal offense, operating as then a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. They don't have any, there's no law that requires them to tell you about the private or how to live as in the private, only about the public. None of them who create these websites ever sit down and look up everything. See, when they look at, oh, I couldn't find anything on right to travel. Well, the federal courts have already ruled on it. But a lot of these guys are in the lower Nisi Prius courts, so they don't want to look up federal law or the federal court cases or Supreme Court opinions, where if it passes there, it becomes lawful. They don't want to look at any of these things. Or the brave ones who do go, well, with right to travel, it's only they're only talking about interstate or intrastate commerce. Yeah, that's business within the state, and that's the traveling between the states. But then there's also court cases where, like mine, they were like, yeah, he's right. Like I said in my one video, there's no law against right to travel. If there's no law against it, they can't adjudicate it or judge it. How are you going to judge right to travel unless you misapply the law by trying to say that I was doing commerce, which I wasn't. I have a driver's license, which I don't. And then when I have to be registered to you to do that, if not, I'm just exercising my freedom and right and liberty. And by applying commercial things to non-commercial activity, that's obfuscation, that's peonage, forced joinder, identity theft, securities theft, fraud upon the court. Yeah, it goes on and on. And don't think that, as my brother in the mafia always tells me, never think anyone is untouchable. Meaning you can be sued on the public side and the private side. But see, a lot of the cops who have come to me, they're like, well, how do I protect myself even more? And then they watch my videos, they do consultations, and then they get their shit private the correct way. Because even if you guys do this stuff, you have the right. But if you do it the wrong way, they can come after you too. Because you guys are food, just like 14th Amendment US citizens are food. You guys are just, how they used to say, the house niggas. See, the police go after white, black, Asian, gay, straight, whatever, 14th Amendment US citizens like slaves. But you guys are nothing but slaves too who have a badge. And as long as you do the masses work, you're pretty much safe. But y'all can be arrested. Y'all can be jailed in prison, whatever else they have. I know some cops who jumped out of that arena and jumped into this arena only to get their hands bit by the big dog behind them. You're telling too much and you're one of us. See, you can't be one of them and give away the secrets. Now, of course, these people left and they were retired, but there's still a courtesy. See, with me, I'm in the area where I've never became any one of them because they wouldn't accept me. Oh, yeah, sure, they love the IQ and they love the physical abilities I had when I was younger and all that kind of stuff and my tenacity and my ability to, extrapolate scenarios and run complicated equations and figures and whatever. You get it. But for me, I don't have any inside experience to bring with me. So I read the books. So could I be wrong? Could I be just a madman? Whatever you want to call me. That's what I am to you. So beware that until you start seeing the whole process and knowing the terminology, though once again, and I digress, at 18, you were supposed to be handed everything. Now, is there an official thing that states that they're supposed to step you through your bonds, the securities that you get when you're leaving your minor account to your age of majority? No, it just says you're supposed to receive that which is yours. But most of y'all have never even told them that you're also, the second part of it, competent, because most people aren't. So you have to not only be age of majority, which is 18 or older, able to do legal things, but then you also have to be competent. Well, guess what? We're trying to be competent. Even me, I'm not fully competent. I don't know how to get all the bonds and securities and do this and do that and set up, whatever they need because there's no book. I've been trying to get a book on the inside from their legal department for years. My theory is that they must destroy them after they get old. What if anybody has one of their inside the police station or state of or municipality or court books? Let me know. Would love to read some of those. But I've been looking and trying for years and haven't seen a peep. So that either means they destroy them or they archive them and it's for need to know individuals, agents only. Oh, yeah. So don't forget lawyers, judges, police. It's a level thing. It's some things are above your pay grade. Some things are above my pay grade, and some things are above their pay grade. There's always somebody above you who knows more and ain't gonna share it with you. And until I became a manager and an owner and a whatever else, I knew that sure they're a manager. Why are they a manager? They're a manager or an owner or a, a board member or they're a member of the board for a reason. They know the real get down. But if they tell you how to make grandma's favorite soup, then you, me, officers, magistrates, we wouldn't need them on top now, would we? But don't worry, most of y'all ain't going anywhere. Not physically, at least, because, well, you need that almighty dollar, that illusionary piece of fiat currency that does not have any intrinsic real world value. So keep collecting your monopoly money because you got to put food on the table. Keep your head down. Don't listen to any of this stuff. Don't listen to people like me. Why would you want to be smarter? See, I'm okay with that because there's ones who were born in the cage. There's those who enjoy living in the cage. There's those who use the cage and love to run wild. And then there's the ones who stay and were born and always will be in the wild. which is the private. Get in where you fit in. Do what's best for you. Take care of yourselves. I'll talk to you guys later. Bad Wolf's out.